All right, George O'Connell here. We don't have a hype video for TNT. And I'm sure we don't have a matchup cast or nothing like that, but I just wanted to do some fun just to hype up the event. And I'm going to go over the awards, who I think is going to win the awards. As everyone knows, I've been playing for a long time. I know a lot of people in the community. I have a pretty decent idea. And these are just long shot guesses because we don't even know the list and we don't know a lot of things that are going on. So, but I want to do a video just to pump up, people before they go into the event. TNT is a big one. And first of all, the best thing I like about this year's TNT event, I'm going to touch on that real quick, is the dot deployment. Dot deployment, is such a cool way. I wish Kings of War would go with dot deployment and make it an official rule because it adds so much strategy to the game. And that's really, the people that really practice the dot deployments, they're really going to step up really and do really well in this event. Because it's a real game changer and it can really force people to, especially on certain scenarios where you're setting up the terrain, it can be very evil. It's how evil your opponent can be. And so we'll see what happens. I really love dot deployment. I haven't done that since the Shogun GT down in Texas. That was the last time. I think Masters did it once. Not a lot of people do the dot deployment, and boy, I think it's the best. I think that's the coolest thing that TNT did other than the wrestling theme. I just love it. All right, so let's go on to sports. We're going to start off with sports. And I'm going to give you my long shots first. And I'll tell you why they're my long shots. Robert Brandon used to win this award left and right, so he's my first long shot. I really like Robert Brandon. He could come out of nowhere to win this. I'll give you another one that I really like. Michelle Jones. Michelle is one of the sweetest persons in the world. How can you not love Michelle? And I'm going to give you another one. If he's drinking or not, he's just a nice guy, is Chris Gidney. And just laid back everything. Chris is just fantastic when it comes to sports and the playing against. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. Now I'm going to give you another long shot out there. And if he follows this one advice, Jackson Blakemore. Because you play the game really cool. You're a real fun opponent. You're a great kid. I mean, he's a teenager. Who wouldn't want to have a teenage son like Jackson? I mean, he's just a great kid. Your one thing that you need to change, though, and Jackson, is don't complain about the dice after the game with your opponent. If you pull just that one little thing away from your way that you play, I think you're going to get so many more best sports votes, and those are my long shots. Now, this is really a two-man field. Devlin Smith, always walks away with great sports votes, really good opponent. And then you got Felix Castro. And Felix is another guy that's just super nice. I went between the two of them, and I'm going to go with Felix because Felix coming out of the region in the Midwest, coming down to play. A lot of people will be playing him for the first time. They're going to realize how good that Felix is as a sport. So best sport, I think Felix is going to win. If Devlin wins, I wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully one of the long shots could come out of the things and pull around because Michelle so sweet and Jackson is such a nice kid. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Chris Gidney or Robert Brandon win that. But once again, I'm going with Felix, with Devlin number 2. I mean, that's just so safe. So let's go on to paint. Now, the top 2 painters are so good in this one that I think it's going to be a landslide for the 2. If you took those 2 versus the rest of the field, those 2 would be favored probably by 90% anyway. So the long shots is the rest of us in the field. The top 2 painters, I think, is Kat Roller. Her salamanders look fantastic. And Billy Smith's dwarfs. Now, who's going to win this award between those 2? I'm going to lean towards Kat. And the reason I'll lean towards Kat is because people in this region have seen Billy's dwarfs. And they're beautiful. They're fantastic. Technically, they're one of the best armies I ever seen. Billy could win this thing if he's added something different to it to show off something new with the piece. But I think that Cat is going to edge it out just because people haven't seen her salamanders, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, see, I see Billy's dwarfs, I seen that. But both of them, it's going to be 1, 2, and whoever takes third is going to be like way under here. You know what I'm saying? It's those two can really paint. I'm really interested to see them. I want to look at them side by side. Billy's one, as I said, Billy's one of the best technical painters out there. Fantastic. If he's added different units, it could be interesting. But if it's the same dwarf that people have seen, I see people going with Cat. That's my prediction. So Cat Roller. All right. Now, overall, best general. It gives me 2 shots at it. Usually, if in this region, if you win in the South, because if you win, get the highest battle points, you're going to win the tournament. It always happens. So really, it's the second person that finished with second battle gets best. What you call it? It's be really weird if someone goes undefeated and doesn't win the overall. So with that said, let's. I'm going to give you my 2. I'm going to give you my long shots first. So I'm going to start off with Patrick Justice. Patrick has been close in a lot of tournaments before. I don't think he's ever won the big one. But this could be the one that he pulls off. And he's playing in his elves, and he's a really good elf player. Patrick is tough. Now, because you got to remember, because of the dot deployment, how you're setting up the terrain pieces, I think Army's going to be really good. It could be Drew Gaddy's. He's running 3 dwarfs. If he's running a lot of the Caterpillar, you can really make it tough where you're getting your safety. Someone's shooting into you for -1 or hitting your army, and you can turn around and fly with those with Strider, because they got 3 dwarfs can get a lot of Pathfinder and Strider. So I wouldn't be surprised if Drew pulls this one off. But Drew plays smart. I mean, I don't think he's won an overall. This could be it. This could be it. I'll give you another one. Dan Cormack and his Ratkin. Dan's a very smart player, really good player. Now, I really don't think the rank and flanks are going to be able to top off the nimble armies, okay? I really don't think that, but Dan's really good player, super smart. He's won GTs before in Warhammer. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls it off for Blues City Brawler. Another one list that I really like, he's a great sport, is that Devin Smith, his Sylvan King. Now, he can shoot. He can turn around, and also his Sylvan King's got a lot of built-in Pathfinder. So that army could be a really tough matchup. He's using that dot deployment, and he's setting it up right, where he's forcing people to fight through the woods and then fighting into him. He could do really, really well. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the one that Devlin breaks through and wins. And the last name is Michael Ireland. Michael Ireland just does really good in the Mid-Atlantic. He's coming down as part of the Carpetbaggers. I could see Michael pulling this thing off. The only thing I don't like is nimble, fast-moving nimble is so good. Movement 8, movement 9, movement 10. With nimble is so good. His army doesn't have it. Looking at his Masters list, seeing into this one, but he did well at the Masters. I could see him turning around, winning, going back to the Mid-Atlantic and waving the belt. So now here's my top candidates. Okay, all right. The guy who wins all the events in the Southeast, it seems like, Jeff O'Neill and his Goblins. Can Jeff pull it up? Jeff is one of the smartest, really good players. He knows Goblins inside and out. The other one, I'm going to send him right with him, is Kyle Poole, and he plays Goblins too. Jeff will sometimes run shooting. He can run his combat too. He'll surprise you with his combat if he brings his combat list. I'll be interested to see if he goes with more of the shooting list or he's going to go more with the combat list. It'll be very interesting to see how he mixes up his Goblins. Now, Kyle Poole does more of a monster mash. Mr. Dino is doing some other new units that were looking really good that I've seen on the forum, so I'm really looking forward to seeing his army in person. But once again, wouldn't it surprise me if Kyle was to win or if Jeff O'Neill was to win. But they're not my top 3. Now, the guy that I'm going to put at number 3, just because, is going to be Sean Williams. Now, I don't know. First of all, when I was looking at the list, I was looking for Empire of Dust. So my eyes were like really surprised when I turned around and seen that he was running Forces of Nature. Now, Forces of Nature, as I talked about earlier, with nimble, nimble 8, 9, and 10 units is a heaven for forces of nature. Now, I can't wait to see what Sean comes up with a list because he's a super smart guy. He's an attorney, very methodical in his thinking. I could really see him pulling it off because forces of nature, I can't wait to see what he does with his thinking. And I'm sure he's been playing against Nate and Jeff, and he realized what Nate was able to do with his Night Stalkers, and we all turned around, was able to see. So I'm going to turn around and put him at third just because I don't know his list, but I know his evil mind, and he's so methodical. I could see him really making really good, nimble, fast-moving, nimble lists with forces of natures. I'm going to throw him at third. All right, number 2, I'm going to throw at Keith Randall's Elves. He did fantastic. He's back-to-back with top 10. He knows this list inside and out. It's going to be very close to his Masters list that we all know. I got him at number 2. Could he win it? Yeah. Keith can easily win this tournament. Now, at number 1, I'm going to go with Nate the Great Clevenger. The reason I think Nate's got the best chance is he's playing Night Stalkers. And anybody has gone around the different regions, like Night Stalkers, I think just had 2 people that playing Night Stalkers. Wow, with Soul Flayers, you can become a monster overnight, and because they're so fast, nimble, you got the units. You can make such a well-rounded army and do so many different things with Night Stalkers. They dominated, and I think they won every single Texas tournament. They've done great up in the Mid-Atlantic. They've done great every place someone ran Night Stalkers. There was a reason that people took Night Stalkers so heavily at the Masters. And Nate played really great with them. He finished top 10. He was on table 1 in that last game. He had to make some chances. It didn't go his way, but because he had to make up some points, I'm going to go with Nate as my number 1 choice for overall and best general, So I think it's going to be him, then Keith. I wouldn't be surprised with Sean and the 2 Goblin Kings, Kyle and Jeff O'Neill. Come on. I'd really like to see one of the long shots win it and step out as the wish caller, because if you take those 5 guys out of it, and if you want to put Michael Ireland up there with that, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the field is real high advantage. So that's my guess. Now for the 4 Horsemen Award, I'm going to give you my long shot team, okay? Because once again, I think this is a 2-man race, okay? 2-team race. I'm going to turn around and go with Blue City Brawlers. That's right. But I'm going with the team. Now I'll tell you why I got them as the long shot that could steal this event. Okay? No offense to Blue City Brawlers A team, but I just told you, Felix is going to kick ass in sports. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. I would not be surprised if in paint, Billy Smith turns around and wins it. So the question now is attrition, and it comes to attrition and it comes to battle. Now, for battle, you got for attrition, you got Chris Brown and his Night Stalkers. Once again, Soul Flayers has made this the most dominant faction in Kings of War. I tossed a little bit on the wish call how they dominated so much at the Masters. If Chris has got a good handle on his Night Stalkers, don't be surprised if this is he comes out of nowhere. Now, the other one is going for battle, Nicholas Gunther. Now, I really don't know Nick and Chris too well, but Nick is going for battle, and he's got ogres. The question to me is he running MSU ogres? Okay, MSU ogres is one of the top of the food chain list and can give people fits. I went to I went to what do they call it? The Mountaineer GT. I took second overall, only had 1 loss, and I was running MSU ogres for the first time. I think I had 1 practice game and then turned around and played. But it's such a strong list that if you got a bunch of warriors, I don't know what his list is, but if he's got a bunch of warriors with the characters behind it, you can suffer those losses and really mess things up. And all those individuals, especially the combat ones, they all got nimble, fast-moving nimble. Even though theirs is 6 with nimble, but you can make some damage and you can really do some things. So it's all depending on his list. Okay, so for taking second, and this probably is the problem. You can make an argument on paper. This is the best team. You got Robert and the Carpetbaggers. You know what Carpetbaggers were after the Civil War? Those were those northern scumbags and those mid-Atlantic scumbags that came down and took advantage of the poor people of the southeast region. So, can Robert and the Carpetbaggers come down here and smack people up? First of all, you got Keith Randall leading the way with attrition. And his army, it's fast, it gets across the board, it can really mark out, fantastic. Great choice. Then at number 2, you got Michael Ireland going for, and I told you Mike's been kicking ass up there with his Ratkin. Only problem is, he's doing battle, once again, it could be his, I told you Kat is going to finish first and second in paint. If she finishes third, it would be a shock. And then you turned around and got Robert Brandon going for sports. So I could see this team winning it. It's a real good possibility. This is the team that turns around, walks away with the Four Horsemen Award. It's really well put together. But, okay, my favorite team to win, when I can say they got 3 players in the top 10, and they're going to mess around with other people's battle sports and throw them down and attrition points. They got 3 of the top players that I told you I think it's going to win is the Sons of Vulcan. Now, Sons have not pulled it off, I don't think. And I was a little surprised with the way they did their things. First of all, they got, for attrition, you got Nate the Great. And Nate the Great's a fantastic player. I mean, once again, I just told you I think he's going to win the event. So, and then you got Ryan Johnson in sports. Nice choice. Now, the question could be, in this, who wins the Four Horsemen again? Who's a nicer sport between Ryan and Brandon? Does one of them really step up their sports game? Because that could decide this thing. All right? Now, here's where I thought they made the mistake. Jeff O'Neill's Goblin Army is one of the most underrated painted armies out there. I would have put him at paint instead of battle. I would have trusted Sean to carry the battle with Forces of Night Stalkers. I can see this thing, fast, nimble. As I said, that's the way to go with the U.S. Masters, and a lot of people figured that out a long time ago. So, but I don't know, because I never seen Sean play Forces of Nature, so it's a big wild card. Maybe he just knocked it out of the park with painting because he's a solid painter. So maybe he steps up with there, and Jeff, because Jeff could easily win this tournament anyway and finish with the most battle points. It wouldn't surprise nobody. So just a really strong team. I think what's going to be decided upon is coming down to, can Keith Randall be knocking off all these Sons of Vulcans to walk away to the top of the battle? But I really think it comes down to a battle of sports. So that's going to be really interesting. But I'm going with Sons of Vulcan on this one. I don't know if they ever won this award, to be honest with you. But hey, Ryan Johnson going for sports against Robert Brandon, I could see that. Paint, after the top 2, could Sean Williams pop way up there? Yep, it could have. I probably, as I said, I think I would have went with Jeff just because I know I've seen Jeff's army before. It's a really solid, really nicely painted. It's going to be finished in the top 5 in paint anyway. So I wouldn't have been surprised, and he painted all those miniatures. But I'm waiting to see what Sean does. And it could come down to, can Nate turn around and really pop up more attrition points than Michael Ireland, but that's going to be really close. But the B team, the Blue City Courier Ball team, that's my long shot. All right, that's my projections for the awards. I'm really looking forward to seeing the list when they pop up. We might not even see them into the tournament because I heard there's some people still haven't turned in the list, but we'll see what happens. So thank you for watching the video. Hope you got a little enjoyment out of it. We'll see afterwards how close I was. All right, George O'Connell signing out. Bye.